Good morning, YouTube. I want to help you buy or sell a supercar, the supercar of your dreams.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan. This is my Ferrari 458, and we do a lot of DIY stuff on Ferraris as well as do some car reviews on supercars. But one of the goals when I started this channel was actually to help make supercar ownership seem more accessible to the normal guy. It's one of the most intimidating parts of the Ferrari or Lamborghini or McLaren or any supercar ownership experience is buying and selling, and there's so many gotchas and weird things about the marketplace and options and what to worry about. So I want to help you guys feel more comfortable buying or selling a supercar, and I'm going to do that for free, but I'm also going to offer some add-on services. So obviously, yes, there is some money motivation here, but ultimately, I really want to talk about this new service I'm providing for free and explain to you that as well as some of these paid for options. And I want to discuss the current Ferrari marketplace for V8 mid-engine Ferraris. So before we get going, do me a favor, pause this video in about 10 seconds, open up a web browser and go to www.normalguysupercar.com, and notice that there is a new section on my menu called Supercars for Sale. So go click on that and you'll see I actually am now listing supercars for sale on my website, and it's totally free to submit your car for sale. Yes, all you have to do is fill out the form. I'll review it, make sure you're not full of crap, and make sure the car is legit, and so on and so on. But then once I approve it, the car will be listed on my website for free. And that's like a no bullshit, like it's free. So if you have a car that you want to sell, go list it for free. And if you have a car that you're interested in buying, go check out my website and you might have it. So at the moment, it is only going to allow you to submit supercars. That is my one requirement. So Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLarens, and no, once you submit your information, I'm not going to start spamming you or emailing you or whatever. The only time I'll contact you is if someone's interested in the car. That's it. I'm actually going to even filter the bogus responses for you guys. You can upload very large pictures. You can upload up to 100 pictures. I want you to be able to showcase your car, link to videos you have of the car, whatever. Make it so it's a good buying experience or selling experience for everyone involved. So again, go check out normalguysupercar.com and then go click on the Supercars for Sale link and go check out some of these cars for sale, or go click on the form and submit your car for sale, and I'll approve it as soon as I get a chance. I legit want to help you guys out. So obviously that means, what are these additional things that I'm offering that can be add-ons? Well, let's talk about that. If you're in the market specifically for a Ferrari F430, I do have a Ferrari F430 buyer's guide. It's a PDF that you can download. It's only 10 bucks. Another thing I do is I offer hourly consulting to help you figure out what type of car, what options you want, or if this car is the right one for you. So a lot of people start thinking about buying a car, they find a few that they think are interesting and they're not sure which one to get. We have an hour-long conversation. I help you figure out what's the right car for you. And actually, I've ended up saving some of these guys well over $10,000 and even $20,000 because we ended up finding a better car that fit their needs. And then I even do in-person consultations. I've had people fly me out to where they live, go check out a car, or fly me out to where the car is, or I've even driven up to Dallas one time to go help someone check out a car in Dallas. It's a little bit more expensive because obviously it takes a lot more of my time, and obviously if I'm going to do that, I want to produce a video about it if I can. Sometimes the negotiation and actual sales process of buying and selling these supercars is really annoying and quite painful. Some of the guys in our group have really figured out how to negotiate really well. If you know about our Testarossa that we bought that car so cheap, you guys would not even believe it. If you are unsure about your ability to negotiate the best price, you can let us negotiate on your behalf, either buying or selling. So we have negotiation services for buying or selling your car. I also realized that the actual process of listing your car for sale can be quite intimidating. So we have sales assistance as another service if you are interested in having us help you come up with the listing, the title, the information about the car, even guiding you on what pictures to take and how to take them. So we can help you with all of that, and we can even take that information and those pictures and list it on other websites for you. And then finally, if you want us to do a white glove service end to end, we'll just take care of it for you. That is something else that we can offer. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about that. Just email me, dan@normalguysupercar.com. I can give you a discussion about that and kind of come up with a plan that makes sense for you and figure out how to make this work. Also, if you're interested, go to my website, normalguysupercar.com. Check out the list of things that we offer on our consultation page. Certainly, if you're trying to sell a car, there's no reason for you not to list your car for sale for free on my website. So again, go visit my website, normalguysupercar.com, click on the Supercars for Sale link, and go submit your car for sale. So my hope is by talking about the Ferrari marketplace on a monthly basis, we can kind of start to see any sort of patterns or trends. And actually, I also want to give examples of some of the cars for sale, what I think are reasonable cars. So what I did is I looked at every single mid-engine V8 Ferrari that's on the market, and I kind of came up with what I think are the high and low prices for them. Obviously, there's some that are major outliers, like, you know, if they have some crazy rare option or something like that. And then I also figure out kind of what I think is a good price and what I think is a price that you should try and get if you want to find a screaming deal. Based on that, I kind of looked around and said, hey, here are some of the cars that if I was on the market for this car, this is what I'd buy. I actually listed those cars for sale on my website. Let's start off with the oldest and go to the newest. So with the 308, I found that there's only about 40 to 50 cars on the market for sale right now. So it's a very limited market. The price range is about $45,000 all the way up to $150,000. Obviously the upper end is super low miles, very immaculate cars, kind of like show-worthy concours level stuff. If that's not what you want and you want kind of more of a driver's car, you're gonna be able to find some good deals kind of in the $55,000 range. I did find some that were right around that price point. They were really good condition, excellent driver's cars, something that you're going to be very happy with. There were some crazy outliers. There was one that was $235,000. There's even one that was $695,000. It was some crazy rare race car that was like a one of one. Actually, it was pretty incredible. Ultimately, most of the 308s are in the sub $70,000 range for a pretty reasonable car. Once you start getting over that price point, you start getting more and more super low mile, immaculate condition, concours ready stuff. If you're gonna buy a driver's 308, I would not expect to pay more than $70,000, and I would target a good deal around $55,000. So surprisingly, there was actually fewer 328s than 308s on the market as far as I could tell. There was only about 30 to 40 of them, so it's a very limited market. So the price point on the 328 was just a little bit higher than the 308. It ranged from about $60,000 all the way up to about $130,000. We had some outliers into the mid twos. Some really excellent deals on these cars around $75,000. So these tended to be just a little bit more expensive than the 308s. I think that's because a lot of the later 328s, they had the Quattro Valvole, so it had a better engine, a little bit more horsepower. Both the 308 and 328 are considered very reliable cars. Neither needs the engine to come out for the belt service. So it is a transverse mounted engine, so you don't have to actually pull the engine. So maintenance on them is not actually that bad for an older Ferrari, although it is an old car, so stuff's gonna happen just because of its age. Stuff's gonna be degraded, wiring's gonna fall apart, connectors break, that sort of stuff. Also kind of surprising was that there was very few 348s on the market, only about 30 to 40. But really what was crazy is the price range on the 348 is actually lower than the 328 or the 308. So I found that the low price was about $48,000 at the moment, and the high was all the way up to about $90,000. You could find some really, really good deals on the 348. My honest opinion is if you're looking to get a fairly cheap Ferrari that still looks pretty decent and has a lot of fun driving, this might be a great starter car, with the caveat of you're going to have to pull the engine every 5 to 10 years, depending on how much you want to push it to do the timing belt service. So that is the downside of the 348. There are some good deals right around $60,000. So if I was going to buy one, that's about what I would expect to pay for a pretty clean example of a 348. The 355 had about 50 cars to 60 cars on the market, so a little bit more than the 348. And also the prices were a little bit higher than the 348. And I think that's because this car is a bit more desired than the 348. People actually do appreciate the 355 just a little bit more. It has that incredible sound. This is the car that many of us kind of associate with the sound of a Ferrari. That 5-valve engine just absolutely screams. I'll admit, someday I want to own a 355. It is on my bucket list. Again, it does have the engine out service that you are going to have to do. So if you do buy a 355, plan on spending about $10,000 to $15,000. Sometimes a little bit more if there's more stuff that goes wrong, but somewhere in that range every 5 to 10 years. There are a few other known problems with it, but the good news about some of these older cars like the 308, 328, 348, and 355 is that they've been around long enough that pretty much anything that goes wrong with these cars, someone's figured out or documented. So it's not a terribly difficult car to understand. These range from about $55,000 on the low side all the way up to about $130,000. What is really interesting is that they are up from the last time I was kind of watching the 355 market a few months ago. So back when we bought the Testarossa, I was actually looking to buy a 355 myself, and I didn't because we got the Testarossa. Well, there was actually a few 355s sub $50,000 at that time. I could not find anything under $50,000 at the moment. This is when I looked a few days ago. Obviously, the market changes constantly. I do think the market has gone up about $5,000 to $10,000 in the last few months. I think these cars are starting to get in vogue again, so I do expect 355 prices are going to start going up even more, so you can expect that. What's fascinating about the 355 is that the Berlinettas, the hardtops, actually seem to carry a little bit more of a premium than the convertibles, and the GTSs, the Targas, seem to also carry a bit more premium over the convertibles. Most of the newer Ferraris, the convertibles are slightly more expensive, but that seemed to be not true with the 355, which I found very interesting. The 355 was the first one to later on offer the F1 transmission, and because they did it in such limited numbers, the F1 transmission actually seemed to be a little bit more expensive than the manual. Those are certain things to consider if you're factoring in how much you're going to spend on a 355. Plan for a little bit more if you want a coupe. Play for a little bit more if you want an F1. So it looked like you could find some good deals on a 355 in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. Obviously, a little bit more, you're going to get a little bit better of a car. So I was looking to buy a 355. I would want us to try and spend under $70,000 and hopefully target something sub $60,000. I think there's some good examples, some really good driver cars in that price point. The 360s seem to have quite a few cars in the market, over 150 easily on the market at the moment. Crazy enough, there are some really, really cheap 360s, all the way down to like $45,000. The high end of the 360 without Beta Challenge Stradale was about $130,000. Obviously, if you get a gated version, those are carrying a higher premium. The Spiders seem to be a little bit more expensive as well. And then of course the Challenge Stradale was about $100,000 more than the regular 360s. So if you're looking for a Challenge Stradale, you're gonna pay quite a bit more for that. But it was pretty interesting to see that you could find really good examples of 360s in the $60,000 price range. A lot of them are in the $80,000 or less price range for very clean, super nice cars. So if I was going to be buying a 360, I would try and target somewhere close to $60,000. If I was going for a manual transmission, I'd probably expect to pay in the $70,000s. The F430 seems to have quite a few cars in the market, close to about 200 of them. The lowest I could find was $72,000. In the high side, they range in the 150 to 160 range for very clean examples. And then of course, once you start adding in a manual transmission, those go up a lot. So there are very, very few manual transmission F430s on the market. They only made 1,500 or so of them, and you don't see them changing hands very often. People obviously have realized those are collectible cars. It carries about a $50,000 premium if you want to get a manual transmission. Although the F430 has come down in price just a little bit over the last few months, the Scuderia has come down quite a bit. So I think that initial hype that the Scuderia was this super collectible car has faded out. Now they're only carrying about a $50,000 to $80,000 premium at the high side, but if you want a 16M, so if you want the convertible Scuderia, those are carrying about another $150,000 premium on top of the Scuderia. So obviously those are considered a very collectible car. You're gonna pay a lot for one of those, north of $300,000 pretty easily. I would say most of the F430s are in the $110,000 or less range, with extremely clean examples obviously north of that. You can find quite a few good deals under $100,000, even a few good deals under $90,000. So I personally, if I was looking for a driver's car, would target $90,000. If I was looking for something a little bit cleaner, I would target around $100,000. The market for the 430 did soften just a little bit over the last year, but I think we're finally seeing the bottom end of the market. So I would fully expect that this is kind of it for the 430. If you're looking to get one, now's the time to buy. They're only going to go up pretty soon because they're encroaching on the same price point as the 360, and I don't see those crossing at any points. There appeared to be about 300 458s on the market, so obviously the newer cars, there's more and more of them for sale. My personal theory on that is the newer cars change hands a bunch of times when they're new, and then it slows down as people start to just kind of collect them and hold on to them. Right now, the Spider on the 458 does carry a pretty substantial premium, sometimes as much as $25,000 more just because it's convertible. There are a few options on the 458 that do increase the price, not a whole lot. Stuff like the shift lights on the steering wheel and the reverse camera and the axle lift, those kind of seem to be desirable options. So if if you find those, expect to pay just a little bit more for that. But honestly, the carbon fiber stuff doesn't seem to really affect the price of the used market as much as you would expect, even though those are really expensive options from the factory. Right now, the low side of the market is about $135,000. The high side of the market is all the way up to about $230,000. Most of the good clean cars are in the $175 price point. So if I was looking to buy a 458, I would hope to spend under $175. Obviously, I spent $157 on this, and I think that was a crazy good deal. It had a little bit of miles, nothing too crazy. If I were you, depending on how much you want a driver's car, if you're willing to accept a little bit of miles in the car, you can expect to pay under $160, even sometimes under $150. Of course, then you have the 458 Speciale, which adds quite a bit on top of the 458 as far as a premium goes. Those, the cheapest you can find, are in the 300s, around 320. And they go all the way up into the $700,000 price range, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then of course, if you have the Speciale Aperta, it's even more expensive. So those are commanding a ton of money. Again, north of $700,000 in super perfect examples. Most of those seem to be in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, with the Apertas going more in the $400,000 to $500,000 range. So finally, we'll talk about the 488, and there are over 350 of those on the market for sale right now. Again, I think that's because it's just a new car, so people are changing hands a lot in the first few years of those cars' existence. Surprisingly enough, you can find them as cheap as about $200,000. So that's on the very low side. Not too many of them were that close to $200,000. Most of them are more in the $220,000 to $260,000 range. Good deals being sub $220,000. Anything below that is considered a pretty good deal in my opinion. The Spyder does carry quite a hefty premium for the 488. In fact, it carries an almost $40,000 price increase for a Spyder, just a function of it being a new enough car, and that's an expensive option that you are going to have to pay. So if you want a Spyder, expect to spend quite a bit more. On the high side, you can see them as much as $430,000. Obviously, these are super highly optioned cars. The 488 is new enough that the options do matter quite a bit. Some of these have very low miles or even delivery miles, so you can find them basically brand new. Once you start talking in the 15,000 mile range, you start getting to the lower end near the 220 price point or below. I would expect to pay somewhere close to $250 for a really clean example, somewhere below $220 if you're looking for a driver's car and are willing to have it have some miles on it. And then of course they have the 488 Pista. There's actually only a few of those on the market, about 30 of them, which is kind of fascinating that there's almost as many Pistas for sale as there are 348s. On the low side, you're going to spend over $400,000 for a Pista no matter what. The lowest one I could find was about $420,000, and they go all the way up to over $700,000. So obviously these are still carrying quite a hefty premium over the 488. It's a little bit more collectible car. It's a little bit more desirable. So if you're looking to get one of these, you're going to be spending probably close to $500,000. So hope your wallet's ready. So for those of you looking to buy or sell a Ferrari, I hope this was helpful. It kind of gave my insights into the market at the moment for the V8 cars. I haven't done the V12 cars yet. I may start trying to do some of the other cars like Lamborghinis and McLarens and try and get a feel for those markets as well. I was just doing Ferraris because I know them pretty well, and honestly, I've just kind of watched the market anyway because I'm curious about the Ferrari market at any given time, so I'm checking on it frequently. Go to my website, normalguysupercar.com, and submit your car for sale if you do have one for sale. It's totally free. Consider some of the optional services I have if that is something that would be helpful to you. I'm not as interested in that. I just want to get a bunch of your guys' cars listed for sale because I want to help you guys out. This is a totally free thing I'm going to start doing regularly. So please like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot of car stuff. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. It's going to be sweet.